Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another light novel review. I am the Rat, and this is The Rat's Nest. Today, we are diving into peak fiction. What else can I call it other than peak fiction? Mushoku Tensei Volume 14, right? Now, I want to go ahead and preface. There is a lot that I could say about this because it's peak fiction, right? I'm going to try to not go on for like 2 hours. And therefore, I apologize if I glaze over some plot details, that kind of thing. In order to talk about this in a way that I would feel 100% satisfied, I'd have to talk for hours. And so I want to go ahead and apologize. I won't be able to get as thorough as I would like. But we're going to be talking about this, right? We're going to be reviewing this light novel because it's a light novel review, and I am so good at giving insight. So, Volume 14. There's basically two things that happen in this volume. That's not a bad thing. But there's basically two plot points that happen in this volume. It's kind of a difference from Volume 13, which was very much a slice of life volume, which is very nice. It gives you a break between 12 and 14. Peak, and peak, so it's just peak fiction back to back to back. It's absolutely great. I love Volume 14. Before we get fully into it, I also want to give a spoiler warning. Mushoku Tensei is my favorite series of all time, of anything, like just my favorite series of anything of all time. I absolutely love it. I love Mushoku Tensei. And there will be spoilers for all of Mushoku Tensei, all the extra stuff, Old Dragon's Tale, Jobless Obliged, Redundancy, that kind of stuff. I don't know exactly what all I'm going to touch on specifically, like even from Redundancy or Oblige. I might not even touch on Oblige much. But I'll definitely be talking about Old Dragon's Tale. So, spoilers for that. So let's get right into it. Let's get right into Volume 14. So the first big thing here that happens is obviously everything with Perugius and Bananahoshi. We finally get introduced to big man himself, Armored Dragon King Perugius, right? This is a very, very cool moment. I love Perugius because I love Old Dragon's Tale. And Perugius obviously is in Old Dragon's Tale a little bit. Perugius is such a cool character just on his own. You know, an ancient hero who lives in a giant sky fortress. He's a dragon race. He has 12 familiars. Well, he has 11 familiars and one chick who's just down for him, like down horrendous, right? But even like just with that itself is really cool because at this point in the story, the only other dragon race that we've met is Orsted, right? So already you have that connection with Orsted. And Perugius himself being an older character and kind of knowing stuff and having a connection to Bananahoshi, who herself has a connection to Orsted. It's very, very cool. And it gets even cooler whenever you think of him in connection to Old Dragon's Tale and a lot of the stuff in connection to Old Dragon's Tale, because obviously Chaos Breaker was built, if I'm remembering correctly, I apologize if I get details wrong, was built for the fight of the Dragon Generals against the Dragon God, right? So here he is, right? You also have Perugius himself being the son of Adola and Crystal, which is really like that, you know, it might not be, but it's like it's cool to like look at him and be like I know your parents, right? Like I saw you when you were born, right? And it also adds to the tragedy, obviously, of him, you know, hating Laplace, demon god, because obviously, well, that's just part of the tragedy of Laplace's character himself. I love Laplace. He's one of my favorite Mushoku Tensei characters. I don't know exactly where I'd rank him, maybe number 6, but that's a video for another time, ranking my Mushoku Tensei characters. But Perugius is very, very cool. Armored Dragon King. That's a cool title. Chaos Breaker. That's a little bit of a Chunibyo name, right? But it's a cool name. We also get the name drops of other dragon generals, right? We get Holy Dragon Generals or Holy Dragon King Shillard, right? We get a they call him Emperor in this, which is interesting. Maybe the translation of Old Dragon's Tale that I read was off. I don't think they translated Shillard as Emperor. I mean, it would make sense. He was like the leader of the Dragon Generals. But I'm pretty sure he himself was still just a Dragon King. But that could just be an interesting little translation thing. But they called him a Dragon Emperor here, the Holy Dragon Emperor. We don't get the Dola name drop. We do get a mention of the previous Armored Dragon King. It says he. So I don't think there would be. Well, it says his predecessor, the first armored Dragon King. That would be Dora. Dora? Yeah, Dora. Sorry, I said Dola. I'm sorry. It's a Perugius Dola, but it's Dora, which is the previous armored Dragon King. So the time this was written, maybe it's a mistranslation on the staff as a he instead of a she, or maybe this was written and Rifujin just forgot about it being Dora. I don't know. Or maybe just I think it was Silveril who mentioned it, and maybe she was just maybe she just didn't know that it was Dora, that she was a girl. Obviously, we get Mad Dragon King or Maniacal Dragon King, which is a cool name. Maniacal Dragon King Chaos and Dark Dragon King or Abyssal Dragon King Maxwell. They do up the names. Shillard went to Holy Dragon Emperor, which okay, right? And then you got Maniacal Dragon King and Abyssal Dragon King. That is cool. Those are cool. Those are very, very cool names. And obviously, I don't think. I mean, maybe Perugius knows about Laplace, but maybe not. I don't know. You know, Rudeus is like, well, shouldn't there be one more yet? Demon Dragon King Laplace, a later second generation dragon god. Theoretically, you could call him Demon Dragon God. I'm a nerd for these titles, right? I absolutely love the titles. I'm a big fan of Old Dragon's Tale, and so being with Perugius and getting all these references to it, it's so good. It is so good. I can't wait to see more of Orsted. It's really good stuff. I'm a big fan of it. Obviously, all the stuff with Perugius before Nanahoshi gets sick is really cool. Them all getting transported. Obviously, Roxy can't go. The whole it takes a lot to summon Rudeus. If he didn't go along, then like Perugius probably couldn't summon him. Everyone, Ariel failing to talk to them. That's a good bit. That was good throughout the entire volume. Zenoba immediately hitting it off with Perugius. That's always fun. I was really looking forward to rereading that in light novel format because I read all this in web novel, right? This is my first time reading this volume light novel wise. I'm a little bit behind on the light novel. I own them all. I got a little bit behind on reading, but this is my first time reading through, so I was really looking forward to that. It did not disappoint. It's a lot of fun. Rudeus, seeing everyone there. I love Nanahoshi, right? I'm a big Nanahoshi fan. Big Bananahoshi fan. You know me, huge Bananahoshi fan. But this being kind of not this volume. I love this volume. It kind of is taken over by Turning Point 4 at the end. So I can't say that this volume is Nanahoshi and Perugius' volume because really it's Old Deus' volume. But that's Turning Point 4 for you. That's Turning Point 4, right? But all the Perugius stuff before where they're talking to him in Chaos Breaker, you get the different companions. That's all super cool, and I really enjoy it. Just Perugius himself is such a cool character, and you get so much cool references around him. And then Nanahoshi gets sick, right? And that's like, right? Because that's not good. So that just happened. And I love the scene with Sylphie where, the beginning of the jealousy, right? But she goes to heal her. Obviously, she gets a little bit sick. This was I can imagine that would be terrifying for Sylphie, right? And I love Rudeus' reaction here, showing that, he's an adult now, right? Where he's like, I can't lose my cool because Sylphie's lost her cool. I love the interaction between them where he's like, look, you didn't do anything, right? It's a freak accident. Him just being calm and being there for her and taking control of the situation. I think that him taking control of the situation, all he did this volume, really shows a lot of his maturity and how he's matured as a person. Because earlier in the series, and especially in his past life, he never could have done anything like this. But he's matured to the point where he recognizes the situation and knows how to take out of it, right? And knows what actions to take. And then, of course, later he knows how to spearhead the operation, and he immediately takes charge and is like, this is my responsibility now. I really, really like always seeing the side of Rudeus and just seeing how, mature that he's become, right? And it's very, very good, seeing, him post Paul, right? Post Paul's death, and he's become the head of the family, right? And he's had to take on more stuff. Now he's 18, right? He's been an adult for a couple years, but 18 obviously being funny adult age in our world. So now he's really stepped into that role, I feel, and it's very cool to see that here. Obviously, Nanahoshi is chilling a little bit, right? And they're looking through. They're trying to figure out what she has. She has this called drying disease or drying whatever. And what it is, it's a buildup of mana in a person who doesn't have any. And it used to be common in humans. Then during the first human-demon war, it kind of got phased out because humans evolved. They adapted to mana. They didn't have this drying syndrome or something. And so they're like, we don't know how to cure it. It's an ancient disease, right? And we get a really good scene of Bananahoshi, and she kind of, everyone trying to comfort her, but it's all kind of empty, right? Ariel's just kind of out of place. She's been kind of out of place this entire volume. It's it's very fun to see her flounder. It's cool to see another aspect of her character, right? This normally very calm and confident and charismatic character flipped on her head. It's her interactions with Perugius are very cool because they challenge her, right? She's challenged. She's not able to take up that normal composure that she has. She's challenged. She has to confront herself and the way that she looks at things and all that every day. And we get to see a different side of her, which is really cool. It adds a lot to her character, especially later on whenever she really figures out the answer of like what does a king want. It's very cool stuff, and I really enjoyed seeing it. But we get the scene. But yeah, the next part of the arc here where we get to see Bananahoshi, everyone leaves her, right? And Rudeus is just sitting there, right? He doesn't know what to say, right? Stuff that he would say would be empty because she's dying, right? She's going to die, and she breaks down, and she talks about everything. She's like, she just completely breaks down, and she's like, I tried, right? She's like, I knew, right? I knew that I could get sick. Medicine is very advanced in this world because they have healing, right? They have magic. I did everything, right? I might seem like a shut-in to you, but I keep myself to a strict diet. I don't eat stuff that's weird. I try not to go out much so I don't catch stuff, right? I keep my body physically healthy, right? She's like, I haven't aged. My hair doesn't grow. Stuff that, I don't have my periods, that kind of thing. She's like, I still eat and I still use the restroom. She said, but, I don't age, right? Nothing about my body physically changes. So she's like, how come I can get sick? How come I can get this disease, right? How come this is happening to me? She's like, I want to go home. I don't want to die here, right? She fully breaks down. She's crying and she's yelling at Rudeus. She's like, you're so lucky to have been reborn in this world with your own body, right? And she's like, so what? Your dad died. So what if your mom is sick? I don't even know if I'm going to see my mom and dad again, right? And she's yelling more, and she's just talking like, last thing I said to my dad was that he shouldn't come home early, and last thing I said to my mom was I didn't want mackerel. She's like, what was I doing? What was I doing, right? I never appreciated anything. I haven't gotten to do anything in my life, right? I haven't told the guy I love that I love him, right? I haven't done anything with my life. I'm going to die here because of some stupid illness. She said, how come I can still get sick? She fully breaks down. Rudeus is just sitting there, and she says, somebody save me, please. And Rudeus is like, all right, it's time. I love Bananahoshi as a character. Just the concept of her, in an isekai, right? A main character who's reincarnated. And then having a character like Bananahoshi who is like transported, like teleported, right? That is cool. That is a cool concept to have two different kinds of isekai in this world. And then obviously knowing what we know of, if I'm remembering the details correctly, in the future, her friend is isekai, whose name I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it starts with an A. But then, through the magic of either the future Miko or something else, Bananahoshi is summoned in the past. And then their souls being taken away at the same time that Rudeus died, caught his stray soul and put him here. So basically, Bananahoshi is the reason Rudeus was reincarnated. Maybe he'd be reincarnated with her friend. I don't think so. But here he is, right? And that's a cool concept in and of itself. I love the concept of Bananahoshi. But her execution is also phenomenal. Where she is very much so a fish out of water, right? Where it's also not a traditional, okay, you've been teleported to a fantasy world. she doesn't age. It's very, very unnatural. It's the question of, what does the world want from her? What was she brought here for? She doesn't even have magic, right? Well, then, what's the point of her being here, right? Why, she just wants to get back, right? The traditional, I want to get back, where obviously Everdeus, he doesn't want to get back. He can't get back, right? But she wants to get back to her world. And just the execution of everything and her getting sick in this breakdown and extremely realistic, right? I absolutely love it. I love everything about Bananahoshi's character. I think she has done so well every step of the way, and anytime she is on screen, I absolutely adore it. It is great. And obviously this gives Rudeus the punch to go, okay, I'm going to intervene. He calls everyone together. He's like, okay, cool. Well, he goes to Perugius and he's like, I'm going to help Bananahoshi. And Perugius is like, I bet. And he's like, who would know? And he's like, can you find the dragon god? And he's like, no, I can't find the dragon god. Oh, he was like, okay, who else would know? And he thinks, he's like, well, there is someone old that I know. And it's like, okay. He's like, let's go find Kishirika. Now, Kishirika is a cool character, right? Going into Old Dragon's Tale, she's the daughter of Demon God. If I'm remembering correctly, the daughter of Demon God and Kirasis Callisis. That's cool. That's very, very cool. Right, all these old names coming back into play, and later with Atofe being the daughter of Necros Lacrosse, Laplace's best friend, right? Best friend, but it's Laplace's demon best friend, right? A very cool character from Old Dragon. I'm a big Old Dragon's Tale guy. You know me, big Old Dragon's Tale guy. I really enjoyed Old Dragon's Tale. He's going to find Kishirika. He gets the crew together. He's like, okay, Elenalise, Cliff, Zenoba, you're with me. Sylphie, you go home. You rest up and recover, because Sylphie has been helping with Bananahoshi and kind of to take care of her. And so Perugius is like, yeah, we cooked up this circle for you. We're based. He goes out. They head to back to Rikarisu. It's just cool to be back. It's cool to be back. It's been since Volume 3. It's been a while. It's cool. It's cool to be back. It's like, okay, no, we're cooking. It's cool to look back on Volume 3 and being in there and be like, okay, no, they come back in the future. Like the next time they're here, it's like, it's a little thing. But it's like it's cool to think about. And they come back. They meet Nokapara again, which is cool. It's where Rudeus learns, okay, he was part of Roxy's crew, which is always very funny, right? Go read Roxy Get Serious, Mushoku Tensei side story. I enjoyed it enough. It's a fun little story. Maybe one day I'll do a little review on it if it finishes or whatnot. I don't know the state of it. I don't know. That's a side tangent. I'm trying not to have this video be 2 hours long. They're going through and they're like, okay, we gotta figure her out. We gotta look around. But sure enough, they just stumble upon her at a food stand. Where else would she be? And they were sent here because Perugius was like, he's like, I can locate her. I'm going to put you close to her, right? And he's like, okay. They get to Rikarisu. So they find her at the thing. Cliff feeds her. She's like, oh, wahaha. I'm Kishirika. I cannot wait to see that. Her animated is always fun. Kishirika is a very, very fun character. I really do enjoy it. And she's the daughter of Demon God. I know the lore. But it's cool stuff. And so they're like, okay, do you know how to cure Dryden syndrome? And she's like, yeah, no, you just got to get this grass. She's like, it's here. The place doesn't exist anymore. And they're like, And she's like, it's rare. Makes a good tea. That's why I have some under every Demon King castle. I made everyone do it. And it's under my castle right over there. And they're like, and just antics ensue. They get surrounded by the guards because there's been black guards there. They learn that the Demon King Atofe has been moved into the castle. Right, she's the sister of Body Gotti. Cool. I like Body. I like Body Gotti. He's an interesting little critter. Occasionally, as if it's not like literally all the time. So she's moved in there. She's looking for Kishirika. Well, obviously, the guards find him. We get introduced to Moore, the head guard. He's a neat little character. They're like, look, we overheard you calling. You need talking. You need the Sokus grass. We can give that to you. Just bring her in. So they tie Kishirika up, bring her in to meet with Atofe. And Moore's like, look, whatever you do, if she offers you a reward, don't take it. Right? Moore's an interesting character. You never really know whose side he's on. He obviously more serves Atofe, but this was genuine advice. He's like turn her down if she offers you a reward. So we meet Atofe. She's hot, cool, right? And Kalman Ryback is a lucky man. When we meet a Tofi, very, very, fun introduction, right? She's like Body. She's not quite as fun as Body is, but she's a fun little character. She's like, oh, yes, you must receive a reward every day. So it's like, oh, no, we're good. She's like, you don't want a reward? And he's like, fine. Big mistake. As her rewards, obviously, I'm going to train you. You're part of my demon army forever. But don't worry, every decade you can go home for 2 years. But Rudeus is like, I don't think I want that. He's like I don't think that I'm like a fan of that. I don't think that that's what I want. And she's like, nah, you're nonsense. You're good, bro. You're good. I'm gonna kill you now. She goes to fight him. Zenoba punches her in the face, which is pretty based. And then they're like, oh well, you did it now. And so then they go to escape. Fun little escape sequence. Elise and Cliff have the Sokus grass. They go to the teleportation circle. Oh, they were cut off. Morris smart. He was like, yeah, they were probably here. He cut him off, and a little fight ensues. Rudeus is like, all right, we need to get Cliff out. We need to at least get Cliff to the teleportation circle. That Perugius can know, that kind of thing. A little fight ensues. Cliff is going there. Rudeus has to stop more, that kind of thing. Zenoba grapples Atofe. Fun fight, fun uses of magic here, especially Rudeus versus Moore, where it's like disrupt magic, quagmire, that kind of thing, back and forth between them. For Rudeus is like, finally, okay, I used Frost Nova. There's water on the ground. I have electricity. Curious. Something devious is brewing. And so he uses electric on the ground. It gives everyone like burns, right? Knocks everyone out for a couple seconds. This was a cool scene. Moore can't get there. But then Cliff is going up to the teleportation. He's like, okay, he's home free. But then a knight comes out of there, and you're like, uh-oh, and Rudeus falls into despair. But then we see that the knight is like bloodied. He's like, oh, it's Peru. And then he gets killed, which is based. And there's Perugius. Now, this was cool, right? Perugius comes out. He's like, Atofi. Nice to meet you. Crazy meeting you here. What a coinkydink. What a little coinkydink here. That's cute. That is so cute just to meet you here. That is so cute. I love that. I love that so much. That is so cute. And she's like, oh. And he's like, watch this. And he sucks all the mana from her, and then he cuts her in half and launches her away into the sky. It's like, okay, that's pretty based. That's pretty darn based. And so everyone's rescued. That's very nice. And then the end of the arc, Bananahoshi is healed. And she's like, thank you, Rudeus. And, she cries a little bit. A very touching scene between the two of them. I said I love everything done with Bananahoshi's character. And she's like, how can I ever repay you? And he's like, well, just tell me what girls your age like. He said, if in case Sylphie and I ever have a fight, I want your advice. And she's like, okay, I got you. She treats it seriously, and Rudeus is like, she's a very serious girl. So, just fun little banter. I love Bananahoshi. I love Bananahoshi and Rudeus' reactions. We got, Bananahoshi being there also, just as a concept, right? And obviously she's done very well as well. With the reincarnation anime, sometimes you can kind of lose the isekai element in coming to another world, but Bananahoshi being there keeps us tied to it, and I think that's done really effectively to keep being like, we're here, right? This is an isekai, right? And I really do enjoy that between the two of them. But then Rudeus goes home, and he's like, man, that was a lot of stuff. I'm kind of forgetful. I should keep a journal. It was funny because I was reading the book, right? And I love all the Bananahoshi stuff before, before the journal. I love all that stuff. And I was really engrossed. I turned the page, I finished the chapter, and I look over to the next page over. I just see Turning Point Part 4. I was like, whoa. I was like, dude, it's a jump scare. Like, I knew it was coming, but at the same time, I completely forgot. I got totally engrossed in all the Bananahoshi stuff. I was like, I just got jump scared, and I was like, we're here, right? I think that, obviously, right? Mushoku Tensei fans, you gotta love the turning points. 5 turning points, right? We got Turning Point 1, the disaster. Right, the mana calamity. Turning points, obviously, as we know them, are turning points in the battle between Orsted and Hitogami. Also, just literally turning points of the story where it's going one way, now it's going another. Right. Turning Point 1, the disaster, where Hitogami becomes aware of Rudeus and Bananahoshi is summoned, right? Everyone gets all scrambled around. Turning point 2, the meeting between Rudeus and Orsted, where Orsted becomes aware of Rudeus, and he dies, but then is healed, right? The two of them meet, and Rudeus becomes scared of the dragon god. Turning point 3, the letter, where Geese sends Rudeus a letter. Rudeus gets a letter telling him to come to Begarit, right? Which, of course, leads to him meeting Roxy, and, Roxy and him getting together and having Laura, who is a member of the team that will defeat Hitogami in the future. Big moment. Obviously, Paul dies, gives Rudeus lots of character development. At least him getting a little bit stronger, too. At least him becoming more mature. Turning point 4, the diary. We're here. Turning point 4, the big turning point. I love turning point 4. I can't really overstate how much I love turning point 4. I throw the words peak fiction out a lot to describe Mushoku Tensei because it's peak fiction, right? But I mean those two words in the most genuine of forms when I say turning point 4 is peak fiction. I love turning point 4. Now, the physical turning point, Rudeus meeting Old Deus. Like turning point 3, which I kind of included, turning point 3 is technically Rudeus getting the letter, but I kind of, when I say turning point 3, I refer to, Rudeus getting the letter through Paul's death and all that stuff, right? That is turning point 3. Turning point 4, obviously, includes meeting Old Deus, the journal, to the fight against Orsted, and then finally teaming up with Orsted. That's turning point 4. We just get the beginning of that in this volume. But still, who doesn't love Rudeus meeting Old Deus? That is such a cool plot point. It comes out of nowhere, right? It's just like, whoa! And then learning from Old Deus, and this is the only time in the series where we see someone use Rudeus's previous name. It's blacked out, right? We never learn it, right? We never learn his old name. Only time in the series we see someone use it, and it's like, oh shit, this is serious. Like, this is actually Rudeus from the future. And he's talking about all this stuff where he's like, Hitogami tricked you. And this is the most important turning point because this is where, Hitogami's the villain. He's the final. That's what Old Deus himself says. He's like, he's the final boss, right? Oh my gosh! Like, he's like, he tricked us. Hitogami's final instructions here. He's like, I have a favor for you. Is so bone chilling. Is so being chilling. Oh my gosh! It is. It is so good. I love turning point 4, right? Old Deus is like, if you go to, there's a mouse in the basement. Magic stone disease. It'll eat on leftovers, right? And then it'll die. Aisha finds the mouse tomorrow and decides to throw out the leftovers. Because she's like, oh, well, a mouse got into him, right? They throw them out, but that's not before Roxy comes down, takes a couple bites of them. He said, you won't think anything of the mouse. She'll say something like, oh, I found a mouse dead today. Okay, you won't think of it. A couple weeks later, you'll think, she'll throw out the leftovers, and a cat will get into them. A pregnant cat. A couple weeks later, you'll hear a case of a cat that died of magic stone disease. Magic stone disease being a magic only curable by god-level detoxification magic that is extremely rare because you have to have a carrier with a mouse. It dies extremely soon after, like 5 days, I think was the thing, maybe even shorter. It dies extremely soon after the mouse bites on something, right? They have to bite on it. It's transferred through their teeth by them biting on something. And it only affects pregnant women because the magic stone turns the fetus into a magic stone and then the woman's body, right? Uh-oh, right? He's like, you'll hear a case of a cat that got magic stone, and then Roxy will get sick. She'll lose mobility, till one day she'll start turning to stone and you'll realize what it is. You'll go to Millis for the detoxification magic, but you'll get back too late. she'll be dead. So Roxy's dead. We learn that Sylphie's dead. We learn that Eris still loves Rudeus and is dead. And then Nanahoshi's dead. It's implied that she killed herself. Cliff and Sonoba are dead. I don't know if he explicitly says that, but Cliff and Sonoba are dead. He's like, Eldeus is like, I've mastered gravity magic. I've mastered electricity magic. He said, I mastered time travel magic. He said, well, no, I didn't master it. It was a failure. But I couldn't save anyone. He said, that's why I'm here. And he tells Rudeus, he's like, look, don't trust the man god. And this is also where we get the kind of interesting thing that's kind of more prevalent in old Dragon's Tale, right? Where he's like, look, Hitogami, the people around know him as the god of men, right? But the people who know him as the man god, right? So I think that's Hitokami versus Hitogami. The distinction is kind of odd because in old Dragon's Tale, it's translated as human god versus Hitogami. I use Hitogami. I don't think I'll ever change that to saying man god. Maybe I'm like remembering looking at the word, but Hitogami, that's his name, right? Man god, that's a funny translation. He's like, you can't trust him, but you can't also outwardly disobey him. You have to change this. He said, now that I've visited, right, the future may change, but my future still happen, right? He's like, you have to change this. He's like, write a letter to Eris, bring her back in, right? Do not let the same thing happen, right? You get his final moment. I can't say every word. I don't want to spend too long on this, but at the same time, it's turning point 4, right? And old Deus dies. Deus is like, what? And Roxy and Sylphie come up. And old Deus is like, just a glimpse. Right before he dies, he sees Roxy and Sylphie. And he dies. And I could talk for hours and hours dissecting every single line of Turning Point 4. I'll try not to get too off on a tangent. Roxy and Sylphie come up and they're like, "You gay, Rudeus?" And he's like, "Yeah, that was just me. Sorry. You're all taken care of." He goes. They go back down. He tells them not to come back out. He goes out and he cremates old Deus's body, puts him in an urn. He's like, "I'm going to bury him next to Paul." That might be what he wanted. And he goes to the basement. He casts Frost Nova in there twice. Finds the dead mouse. Boxes it up, throws out the leftovers, right? All that stuff. Kills it all. And he's like, I have to see if there's a mouse in here to see if I believe him. Right? Yeah. There's the mouse. Hitogami this entire time has been tricking him. I love Hitogami's character and all that. Turning Point 4, man, oh my gosh. The old Deus's visit. We get a lot more of old Deus in the journal. Man. Volume 15 is going to be insane. Just so much. I love Turning Point 4. And this is just the beginning of it. It's good stuff. I won't go on any longer. It's very good. If you're watching this, you know Turning Point 4 is it's peak fiction. I'm not even joshing or kidding you whatsoever when I say that Turning Point 4 is absolutely peak fiction. I love it. I love Turning Point 4 a lot. Right. The little extra chapter is fun. Eris becomes a sword king. She's probably strong enough to be a sword emperor because Gal's like, yeah, you mastered it, right? I don't think that she's sword god level. She lacks the final bit there. She's probably sword emperor strength. That's what I would say. He's like, I could give you the title Sword Emperor. You'd have to fight Ghislaine, or you could go for Sword God me. And Eris is like, I don't care, right? But obviously, setting Eris up, her journey is done. She's ready to come back into the story. Yay, Eris best girl. Eris best girl. Yes, that's absolutely correct. My opinion is absolutely correct. Eris best girl. There's no other correct option. Thank you very much. Except for if you said Nanahoshi. I love Nanahoshi. Nanahoshi is kind of okay. Orsted best girl. Eris best husband. Nanahoshi best Nanahoshi. Nanahoshi best banana. There you go. I love Volume 14. I've said my piece on it. Volume 15 is going to be insane. I'm going to have to temper myself so much from going into every single detail that happens in the journal because I don't want the video to be 2 hours long. But look forward to it. I am reading that next. technically, yeah. That's you guys don't need to know all my machinations behind the screen. So, if you're this far in the video, obviously there's something you like. So make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment telling me what your favorite part of this volume was. There's a lot to love, right? Like I said, Bananahoshi and everything that happened before is kind of overshadowed by Turning Point 4 starting at the end. But I kind of just view Volume 15 as the Turning Point 4 volume. So, I mean, I love all the Bananahoshi stuff very much so. I talked about all the previous stuff. It's cool to see, right? Thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.